So it's the start of a new year. This is typically the time when we think about fresh starts, right? Those New Year's resolutions. So we think about how we can put in place plans for growth and development. We look for those opportunities. And then we dive in with excitement as we set those new goals. But then within a month or so, we find ourselves starting to wane. You know, that initial energy burst fades away, and that enthusiasm does start to wane a little bit. And then 6 months later, we find ourselves in exactly the same place we were when we started. Well, if this sounds familiar, I've got a new approach for you, an alternative way to approach this. So let's check it out. Well, hello again, everyone. My name is Jim White, and I'm an author, coach, and the founder of the Family Enrichment Academy. Today we're talking about those New Year's resolutions and how that a lot of times we set those goals, but within 30, 60 days, the energy just starts to fade away. Well, today I've got an alternative approach that I'd like to share with you that I think you'll find works much better. Before we go there though, I just want to remind you, I do have a free resource for you at my website. I have 10 parenting tips. These are tips that'll just transform your relationship with your children, so be sure to check that out. Go to the website familyenrichmentacademy.com and be sure to download that. So let's go back to our scenario here. We got this New Year's resolutions. Well, instead of setting that New Year's resolution or trying to identify that goal that you want to accomplish, I'm going to invite you to start thinking in terms of playing the long game. You're going to play that long game, but you're going to focus your attention on short-term gains. So let me explain how this works. We'll use a classic or a typical New Year's resolution type of a scenario to illustrate this, and that is the goal of losing weight. So here's what that typically looks like, or how that plays out. So let's say the goal is to lose 30 pounds in the next 90 days. You know, that's that New Year's resolution. And so you lay out a plan, right? The plan involves a lot of different steps. First of all, you're going to start getting up at, say, 5 a.m. in the morning so you can go to the gym and be back by 6:30 or so before all the kids and everything starts to happen in the house. You're going to plan on doing 30 minutes of cardio and 30 minutes of strength training while you're at the gym. So that's step number one. Step number two, you're going to have a protein shake every morning for breakfast instead of that normal breakfast. Then at lunchtime, instead of going out and getting that fast food, you decide you're going to make and bring a salad with you to work so you can have that salad for lunch instead. Then in the evening, you're going to make a healthy dinner, you know, and everybody else in the family is just going to have to get used to having those healthier dinners. You've decided too that you're not going to do that late night snacking anymore, so there'll be no, maybe you set the goal of no eating after 7 p.m. Also, it's, you know, you like to have your glass of wine or maybe a beer with dinner or in the evening, so you're going to cut that back as well and say, you know, during the week there's going to be no alcohol, for example. So you've got this plan laid out, and there's a lot of pieces and parts to it. But again, as I mentioned, a lot of times when we do this, we get 30, 60 days in, those old habits start to creep back in, you know, and they settle back in with us, and we just have trouble keeping that momentum going. Does this sound familiar? Anybody been through this kind of a scenario before? So what does the alternative look like? You remember I said play the long game with a focus on short-term gains. So instead of having that hard goal of, you know, losing 30 pounds, this is what it would look like. You say, you know what? My goal is to live a healthy lifestyle. I want to live the rest of my life as healthy as possible. Can you see how I'm thinking in terms of a long-term game here? And the short-term piece of it is you say, you know what, I'm going to introduce one, note I just said one, healthy habit every 30 days. That's the goal. So I'm focusing on just that one healthy habit every 30 days. So let me give you an example of what those might be. So with this approach, let's say the healthy habit number one, you say, I'm not going to eat those late night snacks. So for the first 30 days, that's all you focus on. You just say, you know what, I want to avoid and not eat those late night snacks. Now, after that 30-day cycle has happened, then you introduce a second healthy habit. Maybe it is, you know, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. Notice I didn't say 5, and I'm just going to go for a 15-minute walk. That's it. I focus on that for the next 30 days. So I sort of stack that healthy habit on top of the other one. Okay, so now we're to day 61 through 90, so it's time for that third healthy habit. So with this one, maybe you decide, you know, I'm going to have that protein shake for breakfast every morning. So that's all I'm focusing on for that next 30-day period is that protein shake. Now we're going to have, you know, the fourth month, you could stack, or you could say you could up level one of your habits. So in this case, maybe instead of doing that, or as we do that 15-minute walk, we're going to get up at 5:50. So again, just a small incremental improvement, 10 minutes earlier. And I'm going to introduce 10 minutes of strength training to go with my 15-minute walk. So you can see I just up leveled it a little bit. But again, that's my only change, my only focus for that next 30 days. So can you see how with this approach, I'm just stacking those small wins. And so in this case, the example I just used, after just 4 months, we've developed 4 new healthy habits. So the question is, if you just continue to do this, imagine where you would be a year from now or 2 years from now. You would start to transform your life and accomplish and move towards that long-term game of living that healthy lifestyle. Now this process can work in all areas of your life where you're looking to improve. And being a family enrichment coach, of course, one of my focuses is just in your family dynamic. So think about introducing one new habit or one new process every 30 days as a way to just create some incremental improvement in your family dynamic. I mean, if the goal, the long-term goal is to bring that peace, joy, purpose, and love back into your home, that's that long-term play. So the question is, what is the one healthy habit towards that goal that you could introduce? Let me just give you a few ideas. Maybe for the first 30 days, your goal is we're going to have one family dinner per week. That's the focus, and that's all you do. And on a weekly thing like that, maybe you stretch that into like a 60 or 90-day window where that's the focus. Just try to really stay focused on having that one family dinner per week. The next thing you could do, next period, you could say, you know what, I want to acknowledge and validate my children or my child's feelings as opposed to dismissing them. And so that's just your whole focus, is just focus on those times. Catch yourself when you're dismissing those feelings and then reset that into, I want to acknowledge and validate that feeling. Another one for that next cycle might be, I'm going to create a pause and take 3 deep breaths every time I start to feel frustrated. And that's your focus. Develop that habit so you always catch yourself when you start to feel frustrated and you create that little pause. Another one might be, I'm going to be very intentional about how I greet my children when they come home from school. Just focus on that. Every day when they come home from school, be very intentional about greeting them with love, compassion, and being present with them. So can you see how I'm creating those habits around family dynamics and ways to improve that family? Another great one, especially if you have teenagers, is say to yourself, I'm going to really work on just listening to my teenager and resist the urge to offer unsolicited advice. A great one that you can just, again, focus on that one thing for a short period of time. So hopefully you can see how stacking these small wins, you'll start to gain momentum. And that's what I really encourage you to give this a try, because I think you might be pleasantly surprised by just how much momentum you can start to gain. Well, there you have it. So give it a try. Play that long game. Focus on those short-term gains, though. Well, again, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you, I do have those 10 parenting tips at the website, familyenrichmentacademy.com, so be sure to go there and check those out. And as always, it's truly an honor to be able to serve and support you as you move along your parenting journey. Until next time, remember, choosing a loving perspective changes everything.